Welcome again, Tania Fierro, founder of Innerland Institute, of our amazing Innerland. Thank you that you are here. I'm so happy for the second interview of our series.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here, Marcus. Thank you for doing this so we can share this amazing work together.
Yes, together and with the world. That is so amazing also for myself. I learned in any interview, I learned so many things and together and today I'm thinking about asking you about your personal experience, how you went into inquiry and
Hmm.
how you developed with Pedro together this inquiry-based coaching model that we discussed in the first interview, and how this was happening inside in your personal story. And in the second part, I want to ask a little bit about what is reality. What is
Mm.
reality and how is our mind working in relating the reality, facing the reality? So yes, so these are the two topics of today.
Amazing topics.
I mean,
We'll see
yeah,
how far we get with them. Yes.
yes, because when we go with inquiry, there is so much
Hmm.
to learn in our inner land. And because in the first interviews you said that we need a guidance. We need guidance of a structured way to go to visit our inner world. The
Hmm.
importance to do that. And I'm really curious how this inner land came into your life. Also that you named it inner land. This has
Hmm.
reasons to the name to inner land, and a little bit about your story, who you are, how you went to inquiry.
Yeah. Well, those are very beautiful questions. I honestly, it's something that I was born with. It seems since I was very little, I always got the feedback that I was so curious and that I always helped people look at things in different ways. Like when I was little, even like 7 or 8 years old, I got that feedback in elementary school. Like, oh, Tanya always sees things so different. She always sees things in a different way. She's so deep, or, you know, so I don't know. I think I was born with an ability to be curious in a particular way, and then I had a very beautiful childhood and teenage years. Of course, like any human with difficulties as well. I had a very tough relationship, sometimes with my family, with my sister. Sometimes, I had some heartbreak in high school, all of that. But it was really when I was about 16 years old, which is about grade 10, 11, 12 in the North American format, like the last 3 years of high school, that I went very deep in Mexico. We follow the French system, so we have philosophy classes.
Mhm.
And in these philosophy classes, we had logic and ethics and history of thought. And I remember in my body the feeling of, wow, there's people that actually dedicate themselves to asking questions about life, about human understanding. And I was amazed that there were big people that could do this for a living and write about it. I fell in love with that, with people that actually dedicated themselves to understand the human experience, to understand our concept of transcendence, to understand relationships, to understand suffering, to understand uh, God, to understand behaviors and normal, and having a mom that is a psychoanalytic doctor, you know, a psychoanalyst. She always had this, like, the psychological view for me always felt like wanted. For me, I know that it's very different for different people, but for me it felt like it always wanted to put humans in little labels,
In the box.
in box, or a diagnose, or to kind of limit them. And for me, that felt sad. It felt like it was just very partial. So I really went into philosophy. I did, you know, my high school was, all the subjects that I could choose were philosophy. I studied philosophy in university. I did my master's. I did certifications in philosophy for children. I did certifications in philosophical counseling. And on top of that, on the, like, that is the formal.
And which philosopher was impressing you most?
Well, I loved, honestly, so many. There's so many different, like, from Saint Augustine, which I loved. I loved Hegel. I loved Schopenhauer. I loved also some of Heidegger, and then I also loved Jean-Paul Sartre. I loved Nietzsche. I loved Albert Camus, even though he was more like in literature, but he always had this, because he was such good friends with Sartre. They really had incredible philosophical discussions. And I also, on the non-academic side, fell in love with Buddhist philosophy.
Yes.
Because what people don't understand, well, what I came to learn is that Buddhism is not a religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's
yes.
actually, because it's not, religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to connect the human with the divine. But in Buddhism, the divine is already within, and there's not like a figure that we need to connect to. It's more is to remember what lives inside of us. So Buddhism is really a philosophy, is a way of being in the world, because it's not in relation to a god that you ask things. So Buddhism is really about the Dharma, or the methodologies that Siddhartha Gautama developed, which were about becoming the most awakened version of ourselves. And the more awakened we become, the less suffering we have. And less suffering doesn't mean that we leave the human experience. But it means that we can relate to it in a way that there is more understanding and connection and love, like I was telling last time, and trust, and less fear, and less confusion, and less profound pain and suffering. So so what I came to understand, Marcus, was that every time that I was in a philosophical conversation, I was the happiest.
Yes.
I loved being that, and I loved being in connection. So my favorite thing in the world is having these conversations with people.
Yeah. And with Jean-Paul Sartre, he had a beautiful relationship with Simone de Beauvoir.
Yes.
And he was in the existentialists. Did you study also these they really tried to honestly be an honest, equal relationship? And they were,
I love the relationship. I love the relationship. They were both very free.
Yeah.
And very much in love.
Very much,
but
yeah.
They stayed very autonomous.
Yes.
In their own positions. You know, Simone de Beauvoir was very an amazing woman in opening our minds to feminism in a very particular way. you know.
Museum sex, the second sex, it is a second, so really to come together. Yeah.
Exactly. So all of that was incredible for me, and I just I love like j'adore.
You know, they are not married, but the only rule they had was um that everybody is free, can do whatever they want. It has to, but it has to tell the other.
Hmm.
Even, and they suffered, both suffered so much because they told them, and they have different loves, and so but for me this really also they tried really to be honest in this freedom and to share. It's a role model of having really honest relationships and a
Yeah.
loving relationship. And how do you see this also in combined with inquiry, with from your philosophical point of view and inquiry? And
Well, that's a great point, because the main thing about having philosophical discussions
Mhm.
is it's the same as the main thing as having an inquiry session.
Yeah.
And that is that you both people arrive curious.
Mhm.
Both people arrive hungry to discover.
Yeah.
And this is very important, to be hungry to discover a new angle, a new way of seeing things, you know?
Seeing the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about inquiry, that even if you come as in the role of as a facilitator, you come also curious and hungry to see
Mhm.
what that particular discovery will be, because you are trusting the power of asking, and the power of curiosity, and the power of an open mind.
Mhm.
You know, the most sexy thing in the world is an open mind, to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
The sexiest thing in the world is an open mind.
Yes.
It's a mind that's hungry to see, how can I see things differently?
Yeah.
How can I learn a new angle? Because every time we're with a person having a conversation or having an inquiry session, even if we've had that conversation with that person before,
Yes.
in that moment they're new.
Mhm. Isn't that amazing?
That's incredible. And if we see every conversation in that sense, with that curiosity as new, then, you know, life is just an incredible thing. So to answer the series of questions, so inquiry, has been my passion forever, since I was little. So I was very lucky, because I was able to always believe that philosophy could be something that I could make it a way of life.
Mhm.
And I had incredible teachers before me that modeled that, like
Mhm.
all the creators of the philosophy for children movement, Matthew Lipman and Sharp, the creators of philosophical counseling, you know,
Mhm.
Lyubov Marinov, and all these people, Peter Rabe, that really were able to bring philosophy to the classrooms, to the workplace, and to understand that this is actually something of value that
Mhm.
people can invest their time and their resources in.
Mhm.
So I had incredible models, and then of course there was also all the model of the work, that was also another way of using questions as a way of putting resources and time there.
Mhm.
And before I did this with adults, I did this with children.
Aha.
So I did philosophy with children before I started to offer this to adults, and I had incredible experiences. So I would so I would say, what are we doing here? We are visiting our inner land.
Ah. This is
So
where
the
you
philosophy,
are
what
telling the children.
I was telling the children, we're visiting our inner land, and there is a land inside of you that is so big, bigger than the world, as big as the world.
Yes.
And when you do this, when you practice philosophy, which is inquiry, you come to know this. You have done it all your life. I've done it all my life. You come to understand that there's no end to the ways that you can discover and think about life and the world and people, because it changes. It's fluid. It's a cosmic fluidity, like Emily Conrad say, right?
And you felt it in your body when you did the classes, and it touched your soul, you can say, or your heart when you did this. And
definitely. And it's developed, you know. I've practiced different inquiry methods. You know, I did this philosophical counseling. I've done philosophy for children. I've done literature for children. I've done the work. I've done, you know, so many, you know, the Socratic method, the Hegelian dialectic. So all these methods have brought me to creating this incredible community that we have co-created together, and that I kept calling Innerland, because it makes, that's what we are doing. We are going in, and sharing that, in circles, and sharing the power of that.
It's so clear in one word describe what we are doing.
Yeah.
Traveling. So many people love traveling all over. Internal traveling is also exciting.
Oh, so much, sometimes even more.
Traveling.
In my experience, yeah.
And how did you do the classes? How with children? This really touched me.
With stories. Well, you have to learn, like Matthew Lipman, which is from the Montclair University in New Jersey, developed stories from kindergarten to grade 12 of stories of philosophy for children.
Okay. So
it would be these stories that would have philosophical concepts, and then you would ask the children, like, so
you read it.
So what is real?
So you read the question. You read the story to the children in front of the class.
In front of the class, and then you ask powerful questions, like, what is a friend?
Wow. What is a friend?
What is a friend?
Yeah. And what is real?
And you get different answers, you know. So somebody that always loves you. So if they don't love you one time, does that mean they're not your friend anymore?
Good. Okay.
You know, so you make them think about, to expand, or what makes something real.
What makes something real?
Yeah, because you have a story of an imaginary friend or a doll that they love, that they have a real relationship with, you know, for them. So what makes something real?
Yeah.
These are answers. These are questions that we never get one solid answer. Yeah. It's not like asking about time. What time is it? Here in Vancouver, it's 12:32. What time is it there in Zurich? You know, these are questions that we can keep asking. So all our life.
Yes. So do we create what is real, or is it a given?
Exactly. So what a great question, right?
Is it a given? The desk, is it a given, or do I create the table?
Exactly. So you have two realities. You have many realities. You have the reality of the desk that I
Yes.
pound my hand on, right?
Yeah.
Here. And then the reality of you, which I cannot touch. How do you know that you're real?
Yeah, it must be a common rules that we believe in.
It could be, you know, or it could be a decision.
Yes. Yeah. So
It
then,
could be like Schopenhauer would say, you know, it's like the will, the will of the human spirit
mhm.
creates reality. So, you know, it's incredible to see that what we experience as real
Mhm.
changes. Just ask somebody that just had a car accident, or somebody that just had got their heart broken.
Uh-huh.
Two realities. If you tell the person that had a car accident, is your accident real? They would say yes. If you tell the person that just got their heart broken, was your idea of the relationship real? And they will say no. I had a completely different idea of my relationship and I got my heart broken. I thought this person was happy
Mhm.
and I thought that was real, but they were not.
Yes.
So, you know, so
Yeah.
the question of reality, what is real,
Mhm.
is a beautiful question, isn't it?
Oh, oh, it is a for me, it is a paradox.
Yes,
It
of
is,
course.
it is both. It is a given and it is created.
Yes, and it's there and it's not.
Yes. So,
So
and,
it
and for
so
the, how
yeah,
you,
so to live in the paradox, you know, the definition of a paradox is seemingly contradictory
mhm,
and true.
and true.
And true.
So how can the mind bring this both together? And
That's the point. That's the point, that with inquiry, with the creation of IBC, and with all our studies of non-dualism and Dzogchen and years and years and years and years of philosophy, because Pedro's also a philosopher,
mhm.
we came to that experience of zero space.
Ah, it was out of a sudden, or it was a development?
It was the study first rational, and then the experience of zero space. And what happens in zero space, which is a level, it's a consciousness that we all have, that can hold contradiction.
Mhm,
It can hold paradox
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
and live a beautiful life that is not confused.
Yes. It can be a body and a spirit at the same time.
It's a yes. So we always quote the quote of Robert Kaplan, you know, that
Mhm.
says, if you look at zero, you see nothing, but if you look through zero, you see everything. So there is a way of accessing
Mhm.
a space. It's a space within
Mhm.
that holds our experience with all its colors and contradictions and clarity.
Mhm.
And that brings incredible grounding and peace in my experience. So it's no longer, so at Innerland with IBC, it's no longer looking for the ultimate philosophical answer that maybe I wanted to have when I was younger in university. It's more about living from a place internally that holds all of life. And continues to be astonished by life.
And this is a discovery.
And this is an experience that
experience.
we guide people to have over and over and over in, like, you know, in our immersions. Communities of people, circles of people that come together and it can experience over and over and over.
When we at this point,
The vastness.
the vastness, yeah. Can you describe a little bit more what is zero space if in your yes, about your experience of zero? And you know, it is different for everybody. It's different in any moment, but it is so beautiful how you describe it. How would you? It is, we can have so different angles to watch that vast space, and it is not a location. It is not point, it is a space. And how would you describe, or you beautifully described it just now, but let's talk a little bit more about this. And the praxis in life. We are zero space, and we have our life. We have our also difficulties. And how would you describe or the zero space, the discovery of your philosophical studies?
Well, zero space is feeling grounded and trusting the dynamic nature of life. It is a place where I feel held by life itself. It's a place where I feel profoundly accompanied by myself. I feel at home, I feel at peace, and I feel joy to connect. But the connection is not so much out of desperation, it's more a connection out of joy. So zero space to me is deep grounding, feeling held, feeling deeply connected and accompanied by myself, and open to life and others in a curious, loving way. And that also means that this companionship with myself allows me to have clear boundaries, clear yeses, clear nos with the people in my life or with the environment around me. So zero space, it's also a very clear, at the same time that this is the paradox, at the same time that it's so open, it is also can be very selective and very clear in the next steps, and very clear what to say yes to and what to say no to.
And you told about the connection. Is it also a connection with this vast space of consciousness that is infinite, connected with you can say ego, or with the personality, with the filters, how I develop, or how it is developed by seeing the world or the life.
Yeah.
So how is this connection between zero, there is nothing, and zero, this zeroness of consciousness, that between the seer and the seen, between the seer, who is seeing, and and that what is seen. And I heard from you that there is a relationship inside. You said it's love, so I love myself, or there is a companionship between life. You told it's a companionship between life, and this. How is this relation between within zero space happening? This is really, it is just touching me, and I'm going with this, and I just ask you, I don't have a clue, and I just hear this there's a relationship between this.
There's no separation
Yeah.
with that relationship, though.
Yes, it is
There's
just,
no separation.
yeah, there is unity.
Yeah, I should say it like this. I don't experience separation between seer and seen. I don't think that if there is a separation, there is that is zero space led.
Yes.
I think separation comes from a critical thinking part of us.
Yes, of the left brain. So in reality, is that is one. This is just
For me, I experience as life happening. It's as if you ask the river, or the water in the river, how do you experience the relationship between oxygen and hydrogen?
Yes, okay.
I don't think, it's
That's,
just one.
yes.
It's just flowing.
Yeah.
When we experience pain,
Mm-hmm.
when we experience sadness or anger,
Mm-hmm.
it's an opportunity to listen to parts of ourselves, that have been encapsulated in a perception that does not, that and it's our job to bring them back to that zero space field, not as a job. It's more like that is what love does. It wants to bring wholeness. We are already whole, but sometimes we forget, there are parts of us that forget that. And we need to remind them, and that's why IBC and IFS and innerland meditation and the way that we come together in circle can support with. And I feel that when we are in that alignment with zero space, we all know what that is. And it's just almost too hard to talk about.
Impossible. Yes. And you think everybody has had this experience of zero space?
Yes, definitely.
So
We are born with it. That definitely, no doubt. No doubt at all.
So at least it's the easiest way to to live out of zero, and then we have the parts. You have this. You said that there are parts who are loaded or blended with past trauma, or with and then once you said, I heard you say, we update the parts. I love this expression. We update the parts that this trauma is not still ongoing. But, yeah.
Mhm.
So how is this? How do you see this? Yeah, it's a connection, the parts to zero, and how is this loading happening? The pain happening, and the unloading in with IBC or with IFS.
Yeah, well, we have to go. We need a little bit more time for that. I hope we will have more
Yes,
time
yes, yes, we have.
to do that, because I don't think I could do that in a few minutes. But basically, the principle is that pain in any form is an invitation of our inner land to visit parts of ourselves that have not been updated.
Mhm.
And when we give that attention and presence, they are able to see life again from a place of wholeness, from a place of update. It's like, it's the same. The analogy is, just to make it fast in the interest of time, it's the difference between having a computer from the 80s that thinks it needs to run the program so slow or take so much time. And then with IBC or with IFS, we updated to have a program of 2022 where it can be updated and running in 1 minute. That is the most loving service we can do to ourselves, to let our parts know that they don't have to hold on to the pain or to keep being triggered because of something that happened in the past. That we can live a beautiful life with our technologies, with our tools, that we can live that unburdened life now, and that is absolutely possible. And when we do that, our internal talents, our natural talent that we are born with, can show itself stronger, more efficient, more productive, and more alive. So we don't only do this to resolve trauma, we also do this to serve life and others more efficiently. And if everybody would take their talent and serve life, and do their job, it doesn't matter what it is, to bake cakes or fly a plane or be a politician or run a company or take care of children. If we do this from a place of updated energy, then we are serving the world in the way that we were born to do. And we need to learn technologies to do that. We need to learn their methodologies to bring us back there. This is the most important thing in the world. Because if not, it's like we're running again with a computer from the 80s, because too many parts are not updated.
Yeah, so these Thank you so much. It is such a deep, and it is such a natural state to serve. Then it's a natural state that life serves itself, and this is the healing process of trauma.
Yes.
And how I understood you is that it can heal trauma, not only, and also the trauma of the whole life, society, of millions of years of trauma, of
collective trauma.
Collective trauma, yeah.
Yes, we need to heal and update each other.
And therefore it is important to do it on myself and with others.
In relation.
In relation. Yeah. This is, really to share also inquiry with others. And in my experience, this is the most beautiful and life-giving opportunity to serve life.
Yeah. Serve life as life.
Yes. And like you said, not facing zero, there is nothing, serving life through zero. And then I see everything.
And then everything is a miracle.
A miracle. I feel so much gratitude now. It's so beautiful. I'm very, very happy. And it is resonating. I feel it inside. And today we talked about your personal story, about zero space, about philosophy, about kids, bringing kids and philosophy to resonate. And now we talked a little bit about parts. And then the next episode we will talk a little bit more about the inquiry about parts work, how parts are interacting, and these topics.
Yeah, I would love that, and to do that with you, Marcus. And I want to thank you so much for opening the space like this, to have this available for others, and hopefully, people will find this interesting and get curious as well with their own inner land. And if we can support in any way, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much, Tania.
Thank you, my dear friend Marcus. Thank you so much.
And see you next.
See you next time. Absolutely.